Bulk and Skull was one of the big reasons why Power Rangers was so fun, especially in the beginning seasons. But I personally feel somewhere along the lines, as we got deeper into the seasons, the comedy became a little too much, especially when Power Rangers started to shift in a different direction. Let's talk about this right now.
So that's the way you want it, huh?
So let's just get this out the way. I'm not bashing Bulk and Skull as characters. I actually love Bulk and Skull and what they contributed to Power Rangers. They had some of my favorite moments and lines throughout the Zordon era. You know, the thing that made Bulk and Skull so unique from the very beginning was that, yes, they played bad guys. I guess they were bullies, but they were the comic relief. And they also showed things from a civilian perspective. You know, the Power Rangers, they was all about being heroes and tough guys and standing up to the monsters. But whenever Bulk and Skull ran across the monsters, they reacted like any old human being would. They would run like cowards and get the heck up out of there and let the Power Rangers handle it. The Bulk and Skull did have character progression. You know, they went from bullies to detectives, and they was also trying to find out who exactly were the Power Rangers. And they actually did get that payoff in the Power Rangers in Space, the Countdown to Destruction finale. They actually found out who the Power Rangers were. Now, I'm gonna touch on that as we get deeper and deeper into this video. Now, when I was younger, I had a Power Rangers VHS tape. I had Where There's Smoke, There's Fire. And they had one of my favorite lines in Power Rangers. I'm quite sure people don't even really bring this up all the time, but where there's smoke, there's fire. Where there's fire, there's trouble. Where there's trouble, there's the Power Rangers. And when I was younger, I used to say that all the time. Bulk and Skull quote, you know what I'm saying? I love it. I get a kick out of it to this very day. When I watch that episode, I still feel like a kid inside, and I gotta say it over and over. And another one of my favorite Bulk and Skull moments was actually in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. Even though people said it's not canon, but it is canon to me. It happened. Bulk and Skull did help that kid, what was his name, Fred, did help him save the parents. You know, they had the water, they sprayed the parents. Bulk and Skull came through at the end, you know. They did have their heroic moments. And they had another one of my favorite lines. At the end of the Power Rangers movie, they, when the fireworks is going off and Van Halen is playing, it's just a great moment. And then they say, "Thank you, Power Rangers." And they look at each other like, "Power Rangers? Bulk and Skull?" Like, yo, it's so good, man. I mean, like I said, I'm not bashing the characters. I feel like there was definitely a place for them on the show, especially with them creating more American characters after them using the Sentai footage. I look at Bulk and Skull as like characters they use as filler comedy, but it wasn't terrible. I understood what they was contributing to the show. Where things went a little south for me is when they went from the bullies to detectives, and I do believe it started towards the end of Mighty Morphin and going into Zeo. I could not get jiggy with that character, with those characters for Bulk and Skull. For some reason, I feel like especially going into Zeo, it was Bulk and Skull heavy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there will be so much serious stuff that they was trying to do. You can tell that they was trying to find their way with the writing, you know, shifting Power Rangers in a different tone, at least from my perspective. But they still wanted to have that Bulk and Skull comedy, that familiarity with Mighty Morphin. But to me, it just didn't hit. You know, there was a shift in a little bit more seriousness, but then you would hear doom, doom, and I'm just like, wait a minute. You taking me out of this serious moment. You know, we trying to find the Gold Ranger. You know, Tommy found his brother. You know, it'll be episodes that I feel like it's serious. And then all of a sudden you hear the music, and then here they come in as, you know, the detectives and things like that. I think that was their detective era. But I wasn't with it. And as I was watching Zeo, and y'all know, there's a plethora of things that made me not connect much with Zeo, and I feel like the Bulk and Skull comedy was a little bit too heavy, and it was one of the reasons why it brought it down for me. It brought down Zeo for me, you know, between King Mondo, and then every episode you hear doom, doom, and it felt like an outdated concept, you know what I'm saying? It felt like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1. Why are we still doing this going into Zeo? If they want to keep that storyline, then fine. But at the same time, I feel like they could have just sprinkled it in. They could have dialed it back a little bit and made Bulk and Skull a little bit more special. Because I feel like by them still trying to have that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comedy relief, it brought down Zeo for me. I couldn't really get too heavy into these storylines. I felt like Bulk and Skull, to me, wasn't contributing as much entertainment. It was kind of frustration a little bit. And like I said, I still love these characters. I hope to meet these actors one day. I really do. They seem like cool dudes. Got them on social media. I really want to chop it up with them because they do have some of my favorite moments in Power Rangers. You know, a lot of people believe that Bulk and Skull was actually the heart and soul of Power Rangers. I'm not going to argue that. But I feel like there was a time where it became a little too much. So going into Power Rangers Turbo, they did start to dial it back a little bit. Didn't they turn them into like monkeys or something like that? And then I started to actually see what Power Rangers can be and the potential that Power Rangers could be without the doom, doom, every time. And you know, I saw the potential because I feel like there were some episodes where it's just like, okay, we got something going, something serious is going on, but it's not gonna automatically go from super serious to super goofy. You know, the villains in Power Rangers, they're gonna be goofy here and there, but there's a level of, you know, serious goofy, you know, and we have goofy. That's just something blatantly unserious. So I feel like when they was turned into monkeys, I saw where Power Rangers can go. And they dialed it back with the Bulk and Skull. I was able to digest Turbo, especially in the beginning, a little bit more. Then we go to Power Rangers in Space, and the culmination of the character and this storyline basically gets a finish. Unlike a lot of characters and storylines in Power Rangers in that Zordon era that gets dropped, Bulk and Skull actually had a conclusion. They found out who the Power Rangers were. So when we go to the Countdown to Destruction, the season finale of Power Rangers in Space, you know, Astronomer's going crazy. Andros is in space. The remaining Rangers is on Earth. They unmorph. Astronomer's going crazy. All the evil's taking over. The Angel Grove, I do believe they were still in Angel Grove, destroyed. Everywhere is just a mess. City is just total chaos, destruction. And Astronomer was trying to point out who was the Power Rangers. Bulk steps up and was like, I'm the Blue Ranger. And I think Skull was like, I'm the Black Ranger. And then it started this whole line of these civilians stepping up saying like, oh yeah, I'm a Power Ranger. But it showed real bravery and growth because you remember in the beginning of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, whenever they saw a villain, they would be cowards and run away, other than, you know, Goldar and Rita's brother. But outside of that, they would just run away. You know what I'm saying? But this, when it came down to standing up for the city, Bulk and Skull stood up. They did. And then once Cassie, Ashley, Carlos, TJ, and Zane did their morph at the end, and they found out who the Power Rangers were, that was a moment. That was a moment because we got a conclusion to their story, to their characters. Unlike most characters on Power Rangers, there was some storylines that was dropped here and there. We still don't even know who the Phantom Ranger is, but that's here nor there. When it comes to Bulk and Skull, they got a conclusion, and when Bulk looked at Skull and was like, it's them, it was such an awesome moment, man. It was such a great moment. One of my favorite moments of Power Rangers in Space, because we finally got a conclusion to, you know, characters that's been trying to find out who's the Power Rangers for over like hundreds of episodes. So that was an awesome moment right there. Now, this is just me saying it. Because they was trying to find out who the Power Rangers were from the very beginning, it would have been awesome if we got a collection of all the Power Rangers showing up. I know this is wishful thinking, you know, money and scheduling and things like that. But in a perfect Power Ranger scenario, you could have had every single Power Ranger that they hung around basically morph, and them finding out, saying like, wait a minute, it was Billy. We was beating this fool up in the hallway. It was Jason. It was Tommy this whole time. It was Kimberly. All the times with Skull, I think he was hitting on Kimberly at times and things like that. Like, it would have been so awesome if every Power Ranger that they hung around, they got to see actually morph into their suits. That would have been an awesome, epic moment to their storyline. But what we got in the Power Rangers in Space finale, it was fine with me. But if it was up to me, if I had the pen to write this storyline out, I would have had everybody. But that's here nor there. In reality, I feel like Bulk and Skull did contribute to the show. Do I feel like the comedy got too much? Especially in Power Rangers Zeo? Yes, it was a little heavy in the Bulk and Skull, and it kind of took me out of it. once we got the Power Rangers in space, they were sprinkled in here and there, and I was able to digest them a little bit more once they got back on TV. Now, I do think they did show up once in like Lost Galaxy or something like that, and I do think they do come back in the later seasons. I didn't get to that yet, but when I do, I will talk about the Bulk and Skull reunion that I keep hearing about or whatever. But what are your thoughts on Bulk and Skull, their characters? Do you enjoy their comedy? Did you like it? Do you think it aged well? Talk about it in the comments below. I appreciate all the support as always, man. Y'all been killing it. We've been rocking and rolling. But, you know, whether you agree or you disagree with me, keep it respectful as always. Put it in the comments. Let's talk about it. Maybe I can see things from your perspective. Let your boy know, all right? Until the next video, your boy the Wildcat, J. Troy, is out.